Welcome to Sounds of Sud. I'm your host, Jasmine. This podcast is for all the music lovers and anyone that wants to learn more about working in the music industry. Bringing you interesting insights and wild stories from DJs to festival organisers, we talk to all of the people behind the scenes that make the magic happen. So make sure to hit subscribe and I'll see you on the dance floor. Welcome, Nick, to Sounds of Sud, the podcast. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. It's a cloudy morning here in Dublin, but thrilled to be joining you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry about the technical issues. I'll lead into why I've asked you to come on here in a moment. But do you just want to touch on a bit about yourself? So you're a DJ. You've also got your music company, Ni.Mu Music, which do you want to share where that came from, as we just talked offline a second ago?
That's right. Yeah. So that kind of started way back when I was in college. I was so into music. I started DJing and I started running college parties for the colleges. And that sort of, they didn't really have a brand around it then. That whole unbranded channel sort of moved forward over the years, and eventually got a brand, Ni.Mu Music, which is literally just the first letters of my first name and the first letters of my last name, which a very smart marketing person decided was a good idea, and decided it would be an expensive idea for me to pay him to do that, to give me that idea and put a dot in the middle. So that's how it came about.
We'll go obviously right into your story in a moment, but I asked you to join me on here because you are a very crucial part, in my opinion, of Defected Croatia, even though you don't actually work for Defected. So I came to Croatia this year. I found you through social media, and it's a very helpful service that you provide in that and cut me off if I'm saying it incorrectly, but you basically have created a community for all of the festival goers to share tips, tricks, advice, carpooling, airport transfers, and just a general helping hand to those who have never been before. Is that an accurate description?
It is, and some other things behind the scenes that don't get seen too often, and as a liaison sort of in some ways between the community and the brand themselves. And not only for Croatia. I'm deep in Malta at the moment with 3 weeks to go.
Oh, are you really?
So that that whole environment community is replicated for Malta, and I've just launched recently the same for the Dubai Festival. And there is actually a sort of a slowly growing Australasia angle to it, which I'll be increasing hugely when I visit Defected Australia next year.
You're not coming this year in November?
No, I'm coming next November 25.
Next November. How exciting. Okay, so to those who probably have got no idea what we're talking about, we might just go, do you want to start with a bit about you and we can come back to this part? Or
Yeah, of course, yeah. So as you might have had a little clue from the accent, I'm Irish. I'm in Dublin. I'm sitting here looking out over a cloudy Dublin day here. I'm just a normal guy in Dublin who loves music and who loves people. I started my musical journey way back years and years and years ago. In school and college, I decided I loved music so much I wanted to play it and share it, and then decided I wanted to learn to DJ really badly. Through sheer accident, I was fortunate enough to get some gigs in college parties, and decided then I should make mixtapes, cassettes as they were then, for bars and try to sell them around Dublin, kind of hustle around bars and try to sell these things. And I did. Got a residency. Was then probably Dublin's only big gay club on a Wednesday night, and learned so much and met so many good people there that I got a couple of other residencies around Dublin. I started writing software for DJs. So any DJs out there who will know Pioneer Record Box, I wrote a sort of a similar thing, the cataloging function, years ago in the early 90s before Record Box even appeared.
Interesting.
Didn't work. Yeah, so I was trying to get out and sell that to people. So again, hustling around, sharing music, playing music, trying to do things on the outskirts of music, which sort of feeds into what I'm doing now in around the software and things like that. I kind of became disillusioned with it. It was sort of around the time when music was sort of transitioning from the vinyl into sort of CD, into sort of digital era, and I was a huge supporter of that. And my peers around me weren't. Vinyl was the thing. Vinyl is here. Vinyl is never going away. and digital is not going to work. It's for geeks. To be honest, I was fairly bullied about it in record shops in the community and that sort of thing, and I just became fairly sort of disillusioned with it.
So what? So they thought
And
you were barking mad for wanting to progress past vinyl. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, absolutely. And I started, the first equipment to play in clubs off CDs was coming out, and I was really keen to start using this and play off CDs and go digital. And yeah, there's a lot of pushback on that. Essentially in record shops in the community and the people I'd meet, and they couldn't see the way that this was the future. Which at the time, probably, why would they see that these crazy little disc things are going to take over from what's been around for decades? So I just became disillusioned with the whole thing, to be honest, and that they couldn't sell the software. People weren't really buying the mixtapes anymore because it was cheap to get a live DJ. The whole thing with the digital, I just became quite disillusioned and sort of fell out of love with playing it. And my musical taste started to go in a sort of different direction. I started, at the time, I was into sort of New York house, some disco, but mainly sort of New York house, quite deep New York house. And my sort of musical taste sort of moved and became a bit wider, to be honest, which is great. And became sort of more eclectic. Probably went into acid jazz and into more ambient music. I started producing my own music then, which is kind of my outlet at that point, and I was producing really ambient sort of music, way even more like no beats, just almost like soundscapes. And that was my sort of outlet for a little while, and that sort of petered out. And I sort of was in the wilderness for quite a few years of certainly listening to music, but not contributing to the music scene, to anything around it.
So you were very into it from sorry. I didn't realize there was a delay. So you were very into it from a young age, but then at what age did this happen where you had this lull and you took a step back?
Probably from about sort of 96, 97. I started going to Ibiza in 99. And that sort of brought me back into it, but more from a partying side of things than a contributing and creative side of things. I was not the consumer, but I was taking in the music rather than sharing it, and I was happy with that. That was the easy route. Go out to clubs, go out to Ibiza, party, not contribute at all, not give back, not be creative, and that kept me going for quite a while. So spent a few years going to Ibiza, which is sort of 99, 2000, 2001, a sort of golden age, many will think, and it's enjoyed it for what it was. And then I kind of tried to become an adult for a little bit and stopped going to Ibiza for a few years. Wasn't being creative at all, listening to music, but I was kind of in the wilderness musically, creatively for a few years, and didn't have a creative musical outlet. But back in sort of 19, a friend, sorry, in 2007, no, I'll go back further, 2015, I was at a party in Dublin. I'm filling in gaps. In 2015, I was at a party in Dublin. It was Defected's 15th anniversary. And they held a party at Guinness, at the Guinness Brewery, and that was very cool. That was the first time I met Simon Dunmore. I knew who he was. I knew I had their CDs and everything, and I went along to this thing, and and I met him, and I was like, "This is the guy who owns this. This is the head honcho."
How did you meet him?
I just happened to see him, and I decided I was going to say hello, and thanks for coming to Dublin. This is great. I love all the music. And I think that was, that, I don't know if that inspired me a little bit, but that was 2015, and that kind of, kept me going. Got really started collecting all the Defected music and that sort of thing, and that was a significant moment, I think, which maybe came back to me later.
Gave you your spark back?
In a little bit, yeah. In 2019, a friend of mine asked me to play play some of the old stuff at his birthday party, and that was in the south of France. I said, oh yeah, sure, yeah, of course I will, yeah. And then discovered I don't know how to use any of this new kit, this new equipment. So I have no clue. I don't even have the music digitally. I had it on vinyl and CDs, and it's all been boxes from years ago. And it was like, okay, I've made a promise to a really, really good friend to play his party in a villa in the south of France. And I got to step up. So I happened to be at a friend's house in Amsterdam, and got on his decks for a few minutes. And I'm going, I like this. I love this. And it means I'm going to have to start playing music again with this friend's party coming up. So a few things that happened then. We'd been to Defected, Croatia for a couple of years. I suppose I was a little more musically knowledgeable at that point in terms of current music. Backtrack again. The reason why we got to Defected, Croatia was for the first time was 2017. We were at an event in Studio 338 in London, a Defected event, and we'd flown over for it. We're in the room upstairs, we were just chatting to people, and one of the Defected artists, Jess Bays, was there. My wife wanted to say hello to her, and so we said hello, and she says, are you going to Defected, Croatia? And we said, no, Defected, Croatia, no, we're not, no. And she was like, you have to go. You must go. And, oh, okay, we'll think about it. And she said, no, you must go. And she literally put us up against a wall and said, you must go. You must go and tell me you're going. And I was like, okay. We went home, and we're traveling home from London, and we're going, well, will we look at this? And it wasn't a year out or anything. This was like a few months to go. We go, will we look at this? And we decided, probably, maybe I was still drunk or something. We decided, yeah, let's just go and do something.
So this must have only been, it's like first or second year?
2017 this was.
Yeah, is that the first
second year? Yeah.
Second.
So first year was 16, the second year. And we went home, and not knowing anything about anything, we booked it. And I messaged her on Instagram because that's all I had then. And I said we booked it. I just got it back, yay, or something. We went out. We'd never been to Croatia. Got some apartment. We didn't know where we were going. We didn't know how to get from the airport, and it's a bit of a journey, as you'll know. And we went very blind to this, not having a clue about any. It was the first time we'd been to a foreign festival, and we loved it. Just fell in love with the people and the music and the place. It was such a magical experience, and the coming together of people, just amazing. Came back, and I thought to myself, are we going to go again? I said, yeah, we're going to go again. And we met so many people out there that very first year. A WhatsApp group formed, and that was the kind of start. That was a very small WhatsApp group with a few dozen people who had met out there. And that was kind of the start of the community back in 2018. So parallel to this, I started playing music again. And that sort of fed into my whole brand and radio shows and everything, which we can talk about. But the Defected Croatia journey started from there in 2018 with a little WhatsApp group. And I didn't even create it. It was another guy created it, and we joined, and we were chatting away, and we became friends. And we started meeting at events because we know each other now. And this is sort of the first time you'd realize I can go to an event in a different country, and I can bump into people I know from another event in another country who know other people from another event in another country. And these links and these relationships started. And it's a bizarre thing to know you can turn up in a space on a dance floor in a different country and meet people who you recognize and you've had connections with in a different country. And you just know that you're not going to be a stranger there. There's people you're going to know who will introduce you to other people, and your community, the people you know, will grow. That's kind of a crazy thing when you think about it. In the size of the world, I can appear in a little 20 by 20 meter space somewhere on the planet, and I'm going to say hello to people I know. It's crazy.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm being so conscious not to talk because there's a delay. I don't want to cut you off at the wrong time. But yeah,
okay.
that's like the whole ethos of the podcast, would you say, is like the people I've met on the dance floor and became friends with, and like really like made some really, really good friends, like people I was, probably be in my life for a very long time, if not forever. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I love it. I couldn't agree more. And I feel like I always just say to people, like, if you have never been to a festival, might not be your thing, but please, let's just try it out, because 9 out of 10 times it will be, and you're going to have a ball.
Completely. Especially these international festivals. We don't go to Irish festivals for a couple of reasons. One, the weather. Two, the music isn't really the kind of thing we listen to. It's quite techno based.
Quite
And
techno based.
three,
Oh, I wouldn't expect that.
yeah, Ireland's quite techno. And then you go to these international festivals, and I think the vibe is different. The vibe is better. The crowd is more diverse, more eclectic, and you're just gonna expand your horizons and meet new people. And yeah, it's and I think it does happen at some other brands, but certainly at Defected festivals, the sense of community I think is amplified.
It's a
And they
very,
really
very
foster
strong
that.
brand.
Yeah, and they really foster that sense of community and people. So, you know, I learned a lot going to the festival the first year and the second year. You become better at getting there, getting home, getting around. And this particular festival is at least an hour from the nearest airport in this really, really rural little village, outside this little rural village in rural Croatia, with poor infrastructure, poor transport links, in this little bay, which sounds like the worst place in the world to have a festival. But somehow the journey contributes to people's sense of achievement and getting there. People's sense of achievement in the sense of, I'm going to really enjoy this. I've made so much effort to get there. So I initially just in WhatsApp, people would start asking me questions about how to do this, how to do that, and I decided, okay, I'm going to start a Facebook group. Our Facebook group started in 2019, I think. No, 2019. And of course, the festival didn't happen in 2020. It started in 2019, just people exchanging information about how to get there, how to get around, what to eat, where to eat, the usual things. Didn't happen in 20, but in 2021, I came back and I started taking this seriously. I'm actually going to start putting some structure on this, and this community was sort of blown up a little bit. Bigger Facebook group was started. The WhatsApp group became too big for WhatsApp, so we had to move it into Telegram. The limits on WhatsApp were much smaller, and it's still too small. So it's grown into, there's still WhatsApp groups, but it's grown into this Facebook group, Facebook page, Telegram. Now it's in Discord as well.
What's Discord, sir?
Discord is just another discussion channel. It's a bit like Reddit, and indeed we're going into Reddit now as well. We have SoundCloud, we have Mixcloud, so we're kind of everywhere at the moment.
Given how much you put into it, and how there's a lot of activity, why are you putting it on so many platforms? How can you possibly manage to do that and still enjoy your holiday?
To reach out to more people. So for people who haven't been to the festival, as I mentioned, it's not easy to get to. It's quite rural. It's not easy to get accommodation. There's a language barrier for nearly everyone. And people travel to this festival from all over the world. We're lucky enough to know people who come from Sydney and from Tokyo, and from Cincinnati and from Miami and South Africa and Brazil, and all over the world to this festival as well. It's all around Europe. It's truly international. And when you see people going around with flags from Detroit and Colombia and all over the place, it's amazing. And many people, it's their first time to Europe, never mind to Croatia. So I started pulling together all this information. I started creating a way for people to get to the festival from the airport. Airport transfer sharing list. People traveling solo especially can share their transfer because it's expensive. And meet new people while they're doing it before they ever set foot in the festival. It's probably one of the festivals where the most amount of solo travelers are, I think. I've got relationships with transport providers to feed into getting people in and out of the festival. I've got relationships, sometimes fraught relationships, with local taxi drivers to help people get around because people stay in nearby villages. I've had relationships with both charter companies. I have a good relationship with a local accommodation agent to help people find accommodation in around. So a local accommodation agent, that company helps people. It's really difficult to get accommodation.
And also, I think I saw some people in some sticky situations that were like, there was live chat, like when people's accommodation had cancelled, and that was super helpful.
There's always, every year, somebody gets their accommodation cancelled. Some
Yeah.
Airbnb will cancel the accommodation and put it on booking.com for a higher price, and it just happens. And people have saved up, worked hard, saved up, they're looking forward to it. And 2 days before, or we've read about people who've just turned up, as in this year, somebody turned up and the owner of the accommodation, the couple had split up and they booked through the husband, the ex-husband, and the ex-wife had let it out to somebody else and they were just on the doorstep.
God.
And yeah, now thankfully our accommodation agent stepped in. And also, when it's happened before, the community is so strong. People will offer their sofas, their spare rooms in their apartments to help people. And people have just sofa surfed for the entire festival because they've been let down. The community is that strong. People will just reach out and help each other, or contribute to getting them somewhere else to stay. And that's such an amazing thing.
Yeah, I think it was
It really is.
incredible. Sorry, I feel maybe I didn't phrase my question quite so right. So you've got the Telegram, which is the main group. Are you saying that you've gone onto these other platforms and then you direct them to Telegram? Like, surely you're not hosting the same on multiple platforms, is what I was kind of getting at. Or you are?
So so sort of the content I post gets cross-posted in Facebook and in WhatsApp and in Telegram. The other platforms I kind of just knew and just sort of developing and are really a feeder, really part of the funnel.
To say like, join this, join that.
Yeah. And from a marketing point of view, yeah. Sort of from a marketing point of view, the funnel feeds initially from a Facebook page. There's about 15,000 in that. And that goes into the groups, Facebook groups, and that goes into the chat groups, etc. So that there's a bit of structure to it and a bit of structure to the way the posts and the information goes out. In terms of helping people, there's also Defected also run a great scheme called Speak Up, where people are encouraged to contact them, and there's QR codes and email addresses and WhatsApps during the festival for any problems they have in terms of huge number of people attending who might be from the LGBT plus community, and some might have been visiting Europe for the first time and not be too familiar how comfortable they can be in the festival in the foreign country, etc. and need some advice. We've had non-binary people come to the festival and not feel comfortable with the toilet allocations, and Defected have this great facility where they can come and say, I have a problem, or I don't feel comfortable, or somebody's neurodivergent and just needs a little bit of support. And they'll do everything from literally sit down with a cup of tea to them to get them a wheelchair. I remember somebody needed a wheelchair really badly. Somebody, unfortunately, this year was a victim of theft, and they helped them get home. Or at least get back to the airport. There's this huge emphasis on helping people. And some of that gets funneled through the groups as well, through the fan community groups, where I have a good relationship with the people in the office who run that scheme. And so questions will come in through those Telegram groups, and I'll pick up on the Facebook groups, and I'll pick up on people who, are making comments that, may indicate that they need a little bit of help, a little bit of support. And I might, DM somebody and I say, do you need a little bit of help? Do you want some advice? Do you want some support? And there's a channel there you can get that from the festival organizers, which is super. And it's nice to know that there's that level of support for people who maybe just need a helping hand.
Absolutely. I think if anyone had ever had any concerns about going to a festival solo, I would highly recommend that one with the amount of resources available. It was extremely helpful. Even for me, I wasn't solo. I can't remember why I joined initially. I had some questions. Oh, I think I found through that group. I'd never heard of Tickets. Is it called Ticket Swap? Is it
Ticket
called
Swap?
Tickets?
Yeah, the resale platform.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that before. My partner wasn't able to come because he was competing in an amateur DJ competition in Sydney, and it was a great opportunity. So railroaded the whole holiday, but it was fine because, think more in the long term, in the future. It was the best thing for him to do. So we had a spare ticket. And yeah, I'd never heard of Ticket Swap before. And then I think I found someone, I carpooled with someone, I think, through one of the channels as well from the airport. because I flew into Split. So I found it extremely helpful. Yeah, it was great.
There's a lot of ticket scammers, unfortunately, and
Yeah, that's a real problem.
encouraging people to, yeah, it really is. And encouraging people to buy their ticket, if they're buying a resale ticket or whatever, off the correct platform to avoid being scammed. Or boat party tickets. There's boat parties at the festival every day, of course. And the boat party tickets are a huge demand, especially the very popular ones. They sell out in minutes. And there's a huge resale market, and ticket scammers will just sit and wait. Encouraging people, helping people to avoid getting scammed is a huge one. There's a process in the background for weeding out ticket scammers. There's almost like a script, same scammers use, which is used to identify scammers to expose themselves, and they get removed from all the platforms together.
And unfortunately, it's so easy, it's frightening how much these people get away with. But yeah, I really liked that platform because, just for reference of anyone who's not heard of it, you actually upload the copy of your ticket, the actual file, and it's somehow integrated with Defected's tickets platform, and then it will actually take the ticket out of your account. So there's no possible way, because once upon a time I sold some tickets to somebody. Say I had 4 tickets and I sold 2. When I went to the event, I accidentally used the tickets that I had given to them, so then my tickets hadn't been used. And I saw them in there, and there's no phone services at Olympic Park. It was to see Eminem years ago. And thankfully, the staff looked up the order and saw that my tickets hadn't been scanned. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I felt awful. Like, I might have unknown to scan someone unintentionally. But there is no way of that happening, especially if you've got a big group, 5 or 6 of you, and you want to sell one. It would be quite easy to send someone the wrong ticket. So it actually somehow is integrated and removes it. I thought it was brilliant. Such a good idea. There's complete peace of mind.
It is, and it works. It's worldwide, and they've different integrations with different ticketing issuers. So ESOL, who are the ticket issuer for Defected festivals, they're integrated. So yeah, it literally cancels your ticket and issues a new one to the buyer.
Yeah, brilliant idea.
Ticket swap also is great. In this, you can set your own price as a seller, but you can't go above a certain limit. So it can't be used for just ripping people off. But you can lower your price if you want a quick sale, of course. So yeah, it's great. It's flexible. I've used it to buy and sell many times. It's really, really good, and it's approved by the festival. So, and I wish that festivals would go along that route of saying, listen, this is the resale platform we want you to work with, and we're working with them, and you can trust that. Rather than having people not knowing what they can do and who they can trust and what they can trust, and that ends up just people getting ripped off. We've had plenty of occasions, unfortunately, with really, really upset people in tears who've given over money for tickets that don't exist, or fake tickets, or duplicate tickets. Yeah, it's heartbreaking when people, so especially on the boat parties, when they want to join their friends or they want to see an artist they love, and there's a group of them and they've just bought fakes or duplicates, and they're just in tears, and it's heartbreaking to see. They're on their holidays, and this has happened to them. Yeah, it's horrible.
And it's not cheap either. Like you say, people work really hard for their money, especially in current climate. So to get their real kick in the face. I'm fortunate enough it's never happened to me, but I was close once at a festival in New Zealand, and my friend was like, I was going to buy them, and she's like, I think that's a scam. And then lo and behold, a couple of hours later, someone screenshotted that person into the group, and it was expensive. It was called Rhythm and Vines. It was a good couple of $100 as well. Okay, I've got a lot of questions about this whole process, but I wanted to know, I've got my notes here on my phone. I was going to post some content about Defected and some little tips and tricks for my personal experience. So some quick fire questions, if that's okay. So
go.
What was your favourite set from Defected to 2024?
Favourite set from 2024? FKA Mash at the Olive Grove. I hadn't seen him before. And he was kind of a stand-in for Atmos Black, who couldn't come to the festival at the last moment. Never seen him before, and loved it, thrilled, looking forward to seeing him in Defected Malta.
Very good. I think mine, I just enjoyed the whole thing. It was so much fun. But I think Hannah Wants at the Barbellas. Really liked that venue. Hannah Wants is one of my OG DJs. I've been seeing her probably for over 10 years, right from my hometown in Bournemouth to Hideout in Croatia.
Yeah.
Saw her in Miami last year, Miami Music. She's been quite a key figure in my whole musical journey, would you say? So that was a real blast for the past and a vibe for me. Okay, so it's funny. I've wrote here something, I've just got my own notes, something that was really helpful. Nick's Defected family group, which has ultimately led to me asking you to come on. So this is a brain dump at the end of the festival. But 3 things that you're glad you took with you.
So 3 things I'm glad I took with me. Electrolytes, because a lot of dancing all day. Yeah, the muscles get tired. Electrolytes. A battery pack, or power pack, or power bank, whichever you call it. We have a few of them on rotation, so we always have one with us because, we're just always communicating with people, so the batteries run out. Third thing I'm glad I brought with me. Let me see, my recording gear. I was very lucky enough to get to record one of my radio shows at the festival this year. So I had a suitcase full of recording gear with me, which was necessary. So that's it. Yeah, glad I got that.
Wow, that's so cool. I did see you post that one on your Instagram that you got to do that there. I'm yet to give it a listen, but I will do for sure. That's really awesome. And we'll come back to how you've actually built a relationship with these guys soon. So 3 things I'm glad that I packed. Electrolytes. So on my list too, my loop earplugs, my switch. So just for reference, loop earplug, there are 3 settings. I'm not sure what the middle one is, but the most open is for like dancing and the most shut is for sleeping. So I'm glad I took them, even though I didn't need them for sleeping because I was staying off site, but they were a good purchase. Protect the ears. And I have recently brought, it's called an disposable camera, and it's a disposable, it acts like a disposable, but it's linked to your phone, and when you run out of 28 pictures, when they end, it sends them in an album to your phone and it gets reloaded, and it's brilliant.
That's cool. Are they sort of analog quality as well? Have they got that really old
Yep.
sort of disposable camera sort of quality to them? So it's kind of cool. Yeah, okay, nice.
Yeah, it looks like a disposable camera, but it's got no film in it. I'll send you the link. It's called Flashback. It's a great purchase. And then you're probably not going to have anything because you're an expert and you've been so many times, but I've got here 3 things I wish I took with me. I don't imagine you forget much, but I might ask you anyway, just in case.
Yeah, I'm going to hold my hand up here. The one thing I tell everyone to bring, I forgot. So I'm going to be honest. There's a lot of sea urchins in the sea in Croatia, and it's really, really nasty if you stand on one and the spikes go up and you have to go and get them surgically removed in the medic tent. It's horrible. And I tell everyone to bring these water shoes, and they sell them over there. And we've just forgot them this year. We have 2 pairs each, and they just didn't make it into the case. So I'm an absolute hypocrite. So I didn't even go for a swim this year. There you go.
That is funny because, again, similar to the last list, the first thing on my list is sea shoes. And then I've also added a floaty because I didn't realize how beautiful that bay was. And I love just being in the water. So even just a noodle or a floaty. And I've actually got 4 things because I forgot an adapter plug. And luckily my friend had a spare one. And I forgot my tea. I'm known for carrying tea bags around with me because I absolutely love nothing more than a cup of tea after I get home from a rave. It's my thing. And I forgot them and I was very upset.
You should have come to me. We bring tea bags. Of course, we're Irish, you see, so we have to bring tea bags. So yeah, we always bring tea bags.
But here's the real question. Are you Barry's or Lions?
Oh, we're neither actually. Tesco finest. But if I had to choose, it'd be Barry's.
Interesting. So I'm very not patriotic, but I stand by my nation on a lot of things. But tea bags is something I'm happy to admit. I have been fully converted. I live with my partner and 2 friends, all Irish, and we've lived together a long time, almost 4 years. And I am a convert. I love Barry's tea. It's amazing.
There you go. And tea after going out on a night out. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Just before we move on, just so I don't forget to come back to it. So we didn't actually find him through your group, but my friend Dave got an Uber on the first day to go to the shops. The driver asked, if he wants to be our driver, he'll, take our number. I honestly fell in love with this guy. He's became like a dad figure. He looked after us. He came anytime, any night. He was brilliant. He loved all my music. I introduced him to Pausa. He said when he picked up other people in the car, he had all my tunes on, and they were like, "Where'd you get all this music from?" His name was Giuliano. I did like a daily reel, and I talked about him a lot. He was brilliant. He even took us out for
Love it.
coffee on the last day to say thank you. And he was just like, one day he came and got us from the Barbellas, so we were in a bit of a pickle by the time we were getting out of there, and there was taxis everywhere. He walked all the way down. He was shining his phone light. He's like a dad coming to pick us up. I loved it. He was great. Okay, so thanks for everything you've shared with me so far. Super interesting. So you got 97 till late 2000 teens. I don't know how you'd refer to that. So what were you doing in that time? What was your day job, if you don't mind me asking? Were you fully out of music?
Okay. Yeah, so I've only ever for a short time worked full time in music. Nearly all the time I've had various jobs in sort of management, finance, and IT, and that's my day job is in a government agency as head of technology. So
Oh, very good. So technology is definitely something that's more and more intertwined with music, so it probably goes hand in hand. My partner uses Recordbox and these other programs, and the first time he started using it, oh my God, you should need a degree to just open that program and get it on your computer. It was a nightmare.
Well, you should try Ableton.
Yes, that's what he's going on to next. Apparently it's an absolute vortex in there.
Yeah, it's a learning curve, all right. Yeah, I use Ableton to create radio shows. Yeah, it's not easy, but you put the work in, and what you get out creatively, it makes it worthwhile. Absolutely.
Interesting. We can come back to that in a second. So you've got your radio show. Like, tell me about your musical stuff. So do you still actually work full time in this technology stuff now?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
But you mustn't get a lot of sleep.
Apart from that, then I do all the Defected stuff, and it's multiplied because it's replicated for other festivals and just general stuff outside the festivals for with promoting them. Then on my own side, I do some radio shows. So I have a live radio show on a radio station here called Phever. So I have to go to studio every 2 weeks for that. So it's on a Tuesday night every 2 weeks. So that's a proper live radio show in a proper live studio. And that's sort of more sort of eclectic housey stuff. And I have a recorded show, which is the one I make in Ableton, which is in syndication. So that's called Sunday Chill. That's been going, that's at episode 87 now, so that's been going for quite a while. It started in very early lockdown, and that goes out on places like Ibiza Club Radio, Data Transmission Underground Collective, and it's with a syndication agency who have thousands of stations worldwide, so that's syndicated as well as published by myself. So that's quite a bit of work because I have to record different voiceovers and things for different syndication partners and stuff, but I love it. That's quite chilled house and chill deep house, and I love doing that. So those are the two main ones. There's another radio show called The Crack House, which is in development, and that'll be another recorded syndicated show. So I need to just find the time to put into that one and get it off the ground.
And how did those things come about? What's the story behind both of those?
Yeah, so how did they come about? The live one, I just contacted the station and said, "Do you have any slots?" And yeah, just heard back after it took months, but I heard back and I got a slot. At the time, the slot was like on a Monday or Tuesday afternoon, I think it was, at 4 o'clock. So I got a really not the greatest slot. Now I've got 8 p.m. on a Tuesday night, which is pretty good. So I've been with them quite a few years, maybe 3 years now.
Do you have guests, or is it just
one,
you chatting about music and DJing? And
it's just me playing music. I don't have guests. I'd love to have guests, but yeah, it's a lot of techno played on that station, and I play sort of eclectic house, sort of maybe sort of leaning towards New York style house, but sort of quite eclectic. And it's sort of I'd love to bring in guests, but there isn't a budget to do that. Bringing guests into the country. Absolutely. The other one, the recorded one, it was actually went out as a live broadcast on a UK radio station originally at the very start on a NoWay FM in the UK. And I used to do it live from my spare room on a Sunday morning. And that station kind of folded, so I turned it into recorded format and just kept it going that way. And I've actually met listeners from Australia on my live radio show who used to listen to it on a Sunday night because I was recording it. I was playing it live midday Sunday. And I've actually had one listener who became quite a fan of the show. And we met her in Ibiza for her birthday and brought out for her birthday. She travelled with her family from Australia, from Sydney to Ibiza. And then she's since come to Defected Croatia.
How cool. I love that. I love that. That's the main
So,
thing I love about music. But
and
how,
we're going to visit her next year in Australia.
that's when you said, dear friend, you're coming to see. But I love exploring music and finding new things. But how did she even find it? It's quite a specific
I have
thing.
no idea.
You don't know. You should
No
ask
idea.
her if she can remember.
It was probably through one of the chat, music chat group or something. Actually, you know what? I think I do know. Actually, I think it was actually through a Twitch live stream during lockdown. I think I was cross broadcasting the radio show on Twitch at the same time. Yeah, that's it. She came in through Twitch. Twitch was great during lockdown. You met lots of good people.
Yeah, I did. I've always loved music and I've gone to festivals since a young age. But for me, it was really since I've come out of lockdown and I've got that real appetite back for it, like for various reasons. Visas, jobs, rah, I kind of was a bit absent from that scene for a while. And then similar to you, but not quite the same story, I kind of just came back. I actually went to a festival called Lost Paradise here in Sydney, which is over New Year's. And I just really got that fire in my belly back for it again. You know, I was like, this is my happy place and this is what I like to do. So yeah, I didn't unfortunately explore too much of it in lockdown, which in hindsight I would have loved to. But yeah, I've had a really, really good couple of years, and I don't know, is that because I've really found music again and got back into it, or is it just coincidentally with my personal circumstances, you know? It's like, or is it just a combination of everything? You know, but it definitely helps.
It does, and you know, yeah, there's certain times where I'll just fall out of love with music, just not want to listen to music today or this week or this whatever, but it'll just keep pulling me back. Absolutely, I'll just switch up to a different genre or something. It's new music that really pulls me in every time. I know a lot of my friends will want to go along to classics nights or want to go along to stages of festivals that are playing old school stuff and things, but it's always new music that gets me. I just want to hear something new, and every Friday looking at what's released still excites me.
Where do you do that?
More than it should.
What platform?
Everywhere. So I'll be looking at Tracksource, Beatport, Bandcamp, especially Spotify, newsletters. I get everything, everywhere, everything. And I always joke even about, you know, the best music I find to play is always at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning when I've just about given up and I'm just listening to them hitting next. And I'll come across something and go, oh yeah, I like that. And I personally love playing music that no one else that people haven't heard before, that I found from a record label or a producer that I've never even heard of, and find that and pull it out and play it on one of the shows. If I see, certainly at a live show, someone shazamming something, that's the greatest compliment I could ever get. If people are singing along, and I don't play a lot of stuff with vocals, but if people are singing along, going, damn, they know that. Right, on to the next one. I want to see Shazam. That's the greatest compliment for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So that's something we haven't touched on just yet. Your actual DJing, and we obviously talked about the past, but what does that look like for you currently, live DJing?
So I mostly DJ outside of Ireland because there's kind of a huge techno scene here, and that's just not my vibe. So yeah, I'm lucky enough to play at Defected headquarters in January. I've played in Ibiza twice this year. Once during a sort of a pre-IMS party, and once at my own event. So I ran my own event in Ibiza in July under my own brand and played at that in Ithaca in San Antonio, and playing in Malta next month. So it's mostly outside Ireland just because of the style of music I play.
Are you playing at Defected in Malta?
Good. No, I'm not. I'm playing at Bora Bora after the festival.
Oh, very nice. Exciting. I've not been. My friends years ago went to Annie Mac, had a little festival or something in Malta, but I didn't get to go. So I don't think I've ever actually been to Malta. What's your favourite Defecteds abroad?
Oh, that's interesting. So I've been to so many events, festivals in so many countries. For the people, it has to be Croatia. For the venue, I love Glitterbox at Ministry, although they don't do it anymore. But the best is probably yet to come, because we're hopefully Well, we are. We planned at Chicago just before lockdown. We're going to do that again, and we've got Defected Australia, Sydney, Melbourne in November 25. So the best is yet to come. They have moved from Eden Ibiza to Ushuaia Ibiza this summer. We're lucky enough to go along for back in May, and we're going next week again. So that's kind of amazing. That's 8,000 people at a day party in Ibiza. So we'll back next Tuesday for that.
I've never been to Ibiza, unfortunately. I live obviously on the other side of the world, and when I go home, I have lots of people to see and lots of things to do. And this year, going to Croatia was the first time I actually had some sort of a holiday incorporated into my visit home. So Ibiza I will definitely do it next time. But a little part of me is wondering if I still want to go, just based on a lot of feedback, but people just love to complain, don't they? They say, it's not as good as it used to be, or it's too commercial. And so do I still want to go? I'm not sure.
It is and it isn't. It's still the most magical place. The island, from the moment you put your foot down on the tarmac, has an energy that I've never experienced elsewhere. I don't know what that is, but it's there. People say it's Esvedra, which is this amazing rock off the coast of Ibiza that's supposed to be the third most magnetic place in the world, apart from the North and South Pole. And it looks otherworldly. It looks like it shouldn't be there. People say the lines of energy through the earth combine and cross over in Ibiza, and that attracts creative people, and it has an energy to it. And I don't know, but I know it's something special. It's got a little place in my soul. And yes, Ibiza used to be a different thing. It's music years ago. It was less commercial, but everywhere was less commercial. People say, "Oh, if there's VIP culture in Ibiza now and everything," but that's everywhere, and that wasn't there 20 years ago anywhere. So Ibiza has changed, but I don't think Ibiza's changed more than anywhere else has changed. I think everywhere's changed, and I think the people who say, "Oh, Ibiza isn't like it used to be," etc. Well, they're not like they used to be. They're comparing today with Ibiza 20 years ago, when they were 20 years younger and they were looking for a different thing. And we all had our time there and then in that place. Nowadays, I go to Ibiza, I go to it differently. I'm very lucky. I live in Europe, 2-hour, 45-minute flight down to Ibiza, and I get to go a few times a year. But I do it differently now. We go to more of the clubs, which maybe there's an older crowd. Perhaps not the big clubs you see advertised and the big nights you see advertised. We'll maybe be going to Ashaka or Covasanta or Shinwa. There may be more smaller, more intimate clubs that have maybe a more musically knowledgeable and eclectic crowd, rather than the big ones you see advertised, which are just the huge names and full of packed people. And all the kids still go there and they love it. They're having their time. And in 20 years' time, they'll be saying, Ibiza's changed, and it's different, because it will be. We generally stay out of the crazy and dip into the crazy when we need to. We find the little beaches and the little beach bars at the little coves, which you need a car to drive to, that are playing Balearic chill-out beats, and that's still the true Ibiza, and it's still there. The wonderful eclectic shops and the bars and things in the old town. Yeah, it's still beautiful and it's still there, but it has changed and it will always change, and everywhere changes. And just roll with it and find what works for you. But it's still magical, and lucky enough to be going again next week.
Yeah, I definitely think that I still do want to go. For sure. I love what you're talking about. I wouldn't say I'm a spiritual person by any means, but I do. Energy is something that I believe in, and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, that excites me. But one point you just made there. Oh, sorry. Do you want to go?
They say when you go to Ibiza, you'll always go back. That the energy will bring you back, and I have no evidence for that, but yeah, it does.
No one goes to Ibiza just once. But one point you were making before when you said about the kids or whatever. One thing that I particularly liked about Defected in Croatia was and you can obviously pass your own judgment because you probably got more exposure than me. I would say the average age was definitely over 35, 40, 30s.
Yeah. One of the things I do is a feedback survey. So I do a fan community feedback survey, which goes into the Defected office to the the CEO and head director of events, and they take it seriously. One of the questions is that about how old are you? So I actually get a view on that. And you're absolutely right. Yeah, the age range is very broad. I've met people there who are 18. I've met people there who are just tipped over 70. But the average age range, I suppose, is probably 35 to 45.
Yeah, and I loved it because whilst, I'm 31, some days I think I'm old, some days I think I'm young. I don't really want to be partying with 18-year-olds anymore. Pace and their way they engage with the music and what they're doing is just not really for me. But why would it be? I'm 12 years older, Whereas the mature crowd, I have friends, really, really good friends of mine in their 50s. I've always tended to get on with older people. There was a gay couple there. They've been married for 20 years. They're actually in my reel as well. They're an absolute vibe. They had matching outfits on every day. They were just awesome. I met a couple of two separate groups of people that they were their kids and parents. I'm yet to convince my dad, my auntie and uncle who went to Ibiza recently. They like music and stuff, but they were a bit more well-to-do, I would say, and I've never really seen that side of them. They've agreed to come with us, and we're not going to be able to get back next year in 25 because obviously it is so far, but we're going to come in 26. I'm rallying the troops, and my auntie and uncle are going to come, and I just thought, how cool would that be? Because you can hang out a bit in the day, and if I need to go a bit more rogue in the evening, we can separate and come back together, and everyone can enjoy the music. I just thought it was awesome seeing people there with their parents. I loved it.
Absolutely, and I think the older crowd is probably more respectful of each other, and also just wants to get on and meet people, enjoy the music, and no drama. There's very little drama at that festival, and indeed the other ones they run as well. Malta's kind of the similar. Malta's a slightly younger crowd, but it's still got the same vibe and ethos to it. Yeah, it just older crowd works well for me. And
has that always
still
been the
love
case
meeting people of all ages
at Defected
in
Croatia?
It always has. Yeah, it always has, and I think it's probably not the cheapest place or easiest place to get to. It used to be a festival of 6 days as well, including a pre-party. It was sort of, you're in there for 7 nights, and that was quite the stamina test. It's down to four now, so you're plus the pre-party, so 5 nights. So it's a little easier. But yeah, the crowd has always been a little bit on the older side, a little bit more mature, a little bit maybe more musically knowledgeable as well, I would say. Yeah, I find a lot of festivals, people are just going, oh, it's a festival, let's go, and not going for the music or just go to a festival. I find at the Defected events, festivals, people are really musically knowledgeable and they really know who they're going to see, and they're really open to seeing new acts and new artists and whatever. But they're there a lot for music, especially you see on the boat parties. I've seen boat parties in Ibiza where no one's any interest in what music is playing. It's just about boozing. Well, the boat parties in Croatia, it's all dancing. Yeah, everyone's just there for the music and have a good time, and I love that.
Which boat party did you go on this year?
We went on 2 this year. We went on the Melee and Arup Roy boat party, and then we went on the very last day, a last minute choice. We went on the West Saunders Low Step and Firk Dawn boat party, which is kind of garage vibes. What about you?
We went on Sound Divine and Todd Edwards. I'd never seen Todd Edwards before, and then I saw him twice in one day or something. Yeah, it was one day. It was on the boat, and then he played at the Barbellas that night. Unless I'm getting my wires crossed, and that was awesome. I loved it. And I also want to say Majestic was playing on the boat.
Yeah.
Yes, it was awesome. Yeah, it was. I really liked it. It was good. Sam Divine's just a safe bet for me. Like I wanted to do it either on the first day or the last day, and I've always enjoyed boat party vibes on the first day. Pump yourself up, get in the mood. They're a great start to the holiday. I didn't want to have a commitment halfway through a festival when I know myself. I can go a bit too hard sometimes, and I might not be feeling up for it. I wanted to be really energetic. So when I saw she was playing on the first or second day, I was like, yeah, that's my one for sure. And it was awesome. It was great fun.
Because they are a workout. It's 3 hours on a boat on the sea, and the boat's moving, the deck's moving, you're moving. Yeah, it's a real workout, but great fun, super super fun. And did you get involved in Bingo Friday?
No, it doesn't sound like I did. What was?
Okay. So Flamingo Friday is a thing. It's a theme. It started at Defected Croatia in 2018. There's a little bit of a backstory. So in the very first WhatsApp group, there was sort of some chat, and some of the girls were chatting about outfits, about what they're going to wear. They're comparing outfits for the festival, because most people hadn't been. There was some guys sort of, making fun of this and saying, "Oh well, I've got these flamingo shorts. I'm going to wear them." And another guy said, "I've got the same shorts. Let's wear them together." And another guy pipes up, "I've got the same shorts. Obviously, most of them from a department store, H&M or somewhere like that, Zara or somewhere. I've got them. I'm going to wear them. Let's all wear them together. We'll wear them on the same day. We'll wear them on Friday. Oh, it'll be like Flamingo Friday." Something happened. And people started saying, "Oh, well, I've got another flamingo thing. I've got a flamingo dress. I've got a flamingo shirt. And let's all wear them on Friday. And we'll do a meetup." And within hours, people were literally rushing around shops. And all over the next day, people were exchanging information about, you can buy this in Zara, you can buy this in H&M, you can buy this in wherever, and getting flamingo stuff. And this thing, Flamingo Friday, was born. So what happened on the day was people brought inflatables as well, big flamingo inflatables.
That's like the classic, right?
There was a parade. Yeah, there was a parade. So there's a parade from the entrance of the festival down to the water, which is only about 4 minutes walk. It's a really tight festival. Everyone met up. A lot of people hadn't met each other, and all their flamingo stuff. And I say parade, it was an amble down to the water. And there was a photograph. And I remember going halfway down. Wes Saunders, who was the CEO at the time, said, "What's this, Nick?" And I said, "Oh, it's Flamingo Friday." And he said, "What is it?" I said, "It's just a flamingo thing." He said, "Why didn't I know about this?" I'm getting Simon Dunmore is the owner at the time. So they grabbed Simon Dunmore, and they grabbed a photographer and came down. And there's a photograph of at the little sort of jetty with the pagoda on top of about, I don't know, about 40 people or whatever, with all the flamingo gear and the flamingo inflatables, etc. And that was how it was born, and it blew up from there with people dressing up and bringing inflatables and makeup, body paint, flamingo outfits, full feathers for some people. Some guys from Detroit bought a flamingo inflatable that seated 10 people once and had to be moored. There's photographs of inflatables that are so big they have to be lifted over cars, and it's always been a fan community thing, and it only happens because people want it to happen. And it only happens because it's just endured, and it's fun. It's sort of morphed at this point into, and I suppose maybe with a little, it's promoted. I mean, I promoted across all the channels now, so people who are new to the whole thing know about it. But it's sort of morphed now into sort of a day for self-expression, and whatever that means to you, and dress the way you want, be yourself, and be whatever the best version of yourself is, with a little flamingo twist. Maybe it's an outlet for some people just to, go outside their comfort zone, and the flamboyance of the day really shines through. Whether that's someone's just a little flamingo fan, and people all the way to full head to toe feathers. But there's some amazing groups just put some amazing effort into outfits that light up and all sorts. It was just wonderful to see people and to break the ice with people, to spark up conversations about people's outfits and that. And it's a great sort of way of bringing people together. And that's really what I'm all about, is bringing people together. And that's
that's a cool story. I wish that I had heard about this sooner, because I love a bit of dress up, and I think I love dressing up. Unfortunately, I don't love the cost of constantly buying new outfits, these kind of things. I actually just posted in a local Facebook group here to see if anyone would be interested in doing like a clothing swap, but that was specifically targeted around festival clothes, because one, because I want to save the environment as best as I can, and two, because I do want to save some money as well. Hate to, I've got my wear out of things and swap it around, because I think that's one of the best things, like creative freedom at festivals. It's so much fun. But yeah, that's an awesome story. So when I come back in 2026, I'll be telling all of the people that come with me about Flamingo Friday.
Flamingo Friday.
So
and it only happens there. It doesn't translate to other festivals, because it was just born there and it just exists there.
Just a Croatia thing. Yeah, that's awesome. So You've mentioned obviously Wes and Simon a couple of times, and funny enough, how you said about you spoke to Simon at an event in Dublin all those years ago. I actually introduced myself to Wes when I saw him. He was hovering around at the back of the Olive Groove. I think he was waiting to go on. I think he filled in for someone, and I just went and had a chat with him because I know the promoter that works with Defected in Sydney. His name's Matt from One Hit Agency. I wouldn't go as far to say as friends or anything like that, but I know him through the industry, so I just sparked up a bit of a conversation. It's good to introduce yourself to people. You never know what may come of it later down the track. So he was lovely, and I was also at Simon's last show. He had lots of last shows, but his last show in Australia at the time, he's like Elton John.
Absolutely, yeah.
So do you want to maybe touch on a bit about how you kind of got into a serious relationship with them, would you say? Obviously you started off as a super fan, but you now have a professional relationship with them, even though you're not technically affiliated. So how does that whole thing work? How did that all begin?
So it how did it begin? When the sort of community started growing, and we were going to more and more events. I think it was some of the artists we just got to know first. I remember back in 2017, the story about Jess Bays making us go to Croatia, forcing us, and just getting to know a few of the artists from going to so many events. You inevitably see the same faces, and they see us, and we just got to know a few of them, and got to know, just recognised by a few of the staff who'd be always there. Just a gradual process of you get to be known by more and more of them. Once the sort of community groups started growing and becoming a little more structured, then sort of start having a little bit more of a formal relationship and be emailing the office. The way it works is, they'd have content they want to push out and promote and things like this, whether it be something to do with a festival or the Defected store, or something around safety at the festival and things like that. And they'd ask me to push that out through the groups. And going the other way, I do things like the feedback survey after the festivals, which goes back to them, which helps them improve. And they take that on, and we see improvements, which is great. They listen to the community, which is super. So it's just grown very, very gradually, getting to know them getting to know me and other super fans, and there's kind of a two-way sort of symbiotic relationship that's not formal in any way, but they really are in touch with the fan community and want to support the community and want to hear from the community. And I think that's kind of unique in the industry. Yeah, there's ideas pushed back and forward sometimes. There's feedback pushed back and forward. There's promotions put back and forward, and it just works. And I think the independence of the fan community in all its guys is great. I think keeping independent and not having the Defected not running their own fan community and having it completely independent it works well, because then it can be a voice with it, and they know it's a voice for the fans by the fans.
Yeah, and it will never get censored out, or it will never change its identity because it's
and it's times that I'll be asked for an opinion, and it's not always. If something isn't right, if something doesn't work, or if there is a problem with something, as there has been in things before, maybe a ticketing problem or something like that, I'm happy to say that, give an honest opinion on things, that something needs to be looked at, or something's really working really well, or that's not working well at all. We're fortunate in that they really do care, and that there's, for example, on ticket launch days, they might be in touch with me to find out what's happening in the community, and to find out, is the launch going well? Are there any problems? Because they really want to hear, and they really want to make sure people are having good experience. Yeah, I'll almost often be a conduit, somewhere in the middle, finding problems, people buying tickets, feeding that back into a WhatsApp group with some staff, etc., and helping people get the most easy experience out of going to their events, or buying the merchandise, or whatever it might be. So yeah, there's a good two-way relationship, and they really listen, and I think that's kind of unique.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know many companies where someone who's essentially a very helpful fan would have a direct line to CEO. Like that's
Yeah.
awesome. It's awesome, and it's awesome that they actually take the feedback on board.
Yeah, and it's a respectful direct line. I don't. I'm not. I'm very respectful of their brand, and I think they realize that. It's sometimes a fine line between, people might have a negative view about something or positive view about something, and you have to pass it on in equal measure. You know, and everyone learn from it.
So I didn't actually see your feedback survey. Is that, I think, because I don't have notifications on for a lot of apps, and naturally after the festival I wasn't kind of going into it as I was when I was there. Is that something that you've already distributed, I assume?
It's distributed to the to to the Defected office, to Wes and to the director of events. It's not published back to the community. It's completely anonymous.
No, so I mean
So
it's all
I
done. It's all
don't
done and
know.
dusted. It's too late for me.
It's all done. Yeah, yeah. It's about 63 pages long.
Wow. What kind of
And
things do you cover?
yeah, yeah. So we collect I collect some information about people's age, how many times they've been to the festival, where do they stay? Do they stay in the village or in surrounding villages, things like this. And in regard to the festival, what were their best musical experiences? What their worst? Who surprised them? Who didn't? Who they saw for the first time? What do they think? How is the festival site in terms of the bars, the food, the environment? How is the ticketing process, etc.? We collect information about the boat parties, the taxis and transfers, the everything. Yeah, the whole gamut, and that's all collected anonymously. People leave their comments and collated and yeah, sent in. So it's interesting. There's a lot of positivity. Really interesting. The most interesting answers, I think, are the questions about what artists you saw for the first time, what you thought, and who would you like to see it next year. So there's a question: who wasn't at this year's festival that you'd like to see next year? And that's an interesting one. What people come up with, all sorts of acts, everything.
Two questions, sorry. One, if you don't mind me asking, how many responses do you get back, roughly?
I think it's about 120 or so full
Okay.
responses.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's still a good, what's the word? Not case study, focus group, good focus group. And the second one was, and this might not be a question you know the answer to, but I think you might. How does it work with Defected in Croatia? Because not all of those artists are full Defected signed, are they? Like, how does it, do they have to have at least one record signed to Defected to play there?
That's an interesting question. I think it's a bit of everything. Obviously, many of the artists will have direct relationships. Will have material published. You'll find some of the artists will have material published or about to be published through Defected. And remember, Defected have a number of sub-labels. So Defected and Glitterbox probably being the best well known, but also Stay True Sounds, Classic Music Company, DFTD, New Groove. There's a lot of sub-labels which get published as well, the sulfuric labels, etc. So, and also you might find some of the artists playing would be doing remixes and things for them, and they also have a publishing arm as well. They would an artist management, an artist agency. So there's a number of the companies in their world, not just the events company. So artist management, artist agency, and publishing. So they'd be brought from everything under the Defected umbrella, which is a great idea for new merch.
Yeah, I learned something new because I knew obviously Defected and Glitterbox both on signing labels and artist management and all that kind of stuff, but I did not know that those other companies you listed off. I thought it was just Defected and Glitterbox. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So for artist management and things, Kitty Moore is managed through their artist management company, and she has her own label, Mahala, which is new out of South Africa, so promoting South African artists. And of course they have their own label through Kid Funk, Alan Nicol, who runs Stay True Sounds, which is again feeding in sort of Afro House artists like Atmos Black and others into the family as well. So there's a much broader range. People like somebody like FK Mash, which I mentioned earlier, would come through that channel. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
often I've also heard there's a few artists which they'll just pick to book just to go a little bit outside the circle outside the comfort zone, just to see what people will think of them. The last year, 2023, they booked Jeff Mills, just to see what would happen, just to see what people would take of it. This year, as you know, they did a takeover of Kiwi Records down at the Olive Grove, and just to do something different.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. So many good nuggets of information. So is there anything else you want to touch on with either your relationship with Defected, the Defected Festival, any, words of advice other than joining your family group and the Telegram groups? And because it's extremely helpful, I would definitely personally recommend anyone that's going, especially for the first time, or even not for the first time, to join, because it's extremely helpful. So thank you for all of the effort you put in, by the way, like on behalf of myself and the whole community, I would say, because it obviously takes up a lot of your time, and it really is very helpful. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of people, as well as myself, really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, my whole ethos is to connect people through music. The community groups I run are more about people than music, to be honest. Yeah, people share music in there, of course, but they're more about people, about connecting people and bringing people together. And for me, the magic is meeting people through music, meeting people in different parts of the world, from different parts of the world, forming friendships with those people which you would have never met for any other reason. And as I said earlier, that you can guarantee you can go to a dance floor and bump into people that you've met before, which is just the most magical thing. And the friendships we've made, the stories I've heard have been really inspirational. You said you shared a transfer with some people you'd only met, and I've heard stories of people who've done that, who've literally filled in their information on the spreadsheet, connected with a couple of other people they've never met before off different flights and from different cities, and shared a transfer to the festival. And the next year they're sharing an apartment together and they're best friends, and that's great. People just come together. So yeah, I'd encourage everyone to come along to their events, whether it's a single event or a festival, especially the big Glitterbox and Defected ones. You don't have to go to Ibiza, any local events, and join the communities online on Facebook and indeed in Telegram. If you're a DJ, we have our own SoundCloud channel as well. You can get your music promoted on Defected Family SoundCloud. And get involved and meet people who have the same mindset as you, and I want to connect with others, because it's just great to make the world smaller.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is. I've bumped into some people in some really strange places in my life, but yeah, the dance floor is certainly one where I have complete strangers that, like you say, you just see each other events, like event after event, and eventually one of you will spark up a conversation and say, what's the deal here? We're always bumping into each other, we've obviously got a similar interest, and you do become friends. So it's very interesting, the psychology behind how small the world really is, like 7 degrees of separation and all that kind of stuff.
There's a guy we sort of know, and I can tell you where he's going to be in 4 years' time, 3 years' time, 2 years' time, 1 year's time, because he's a huge fan of Melee, and he's from Tokyo, and he's going to be at Melee's set in Defected Croatia next year. So I can tell you within a few meters where he's going to be in a year's time. And his English is okay, and we have chats with him every year, and we've met him 4 or 5 times now, and follow each other on Instagram and everything. But it's just knowing that you're going to meet a face literally within a few meters of where you in a year's time, 2 years' time, 3 years' time, and catch up a few words and share the music together. That's bizarre. That's just crazy. And I knew if I went to a Melee gig in Tokyo, I'd meet him at the front.
100% front row.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll probably bump into each other in Defected or Glitterbox Sydney in next year.
Yeah, very good. Well, I'm very excited
when people I know.
Yeah, when you eventually do come over, and I'm sure anyone that either did or did not know about your platform who listens to this will also be keen to meet you. We'll have to do a little mini event before the event. We'll have to do pre-drinks somewhere and make a thing of it.
Yeah, we can run an event.
Let's do it. Let's do
family fan community event.
So what's in store for the rest of the day?
I've just published a radio show, so I'm going to go off and check the stats. I've got some SoundCloud promotion to kick off. A YouTube promotion has kicked off. So, yeah, this is the boring stuff that goes on the background, checking marketing funnels
Oh, that's
for
one
things. Yeah,
thing I didn't ask, but that was just a segue into it. What's your aspiration? Do you want to be working in music, or are you quite happy with it being your release and your special time, or do you actually want to blend the two?
That's a really good question. I would, in theory, I would love to work in music. I would love to work in event management. I've got a postgrad diploma in event management, and I'd love to run events and run bigger events than I do at the moment, that I have the time to do at the moment. To be honest, I don't think there's enough money to be made in it, unless you're running big festivals. At the scale I could do it, I just don't think there's as much. I just don't think I could afford the mortgage. So I'd have to stay in the day job to afford the mortgage. It's frustrating because I have a lot of ideas. I have a massive list of things I want to do, like radio shows I want to kick off, which I just don't have time to. Events I want to do take time. I did one event in Ibiza this year. I want to do 4 to 6 next year. They involve going to Ibiza that many times for work, not even for a holiday. So yeah, there's more I'd like to do, but I don't think there's enough money in it these days unless you're doing it really, really at the top. And I don't think I can do what I want to do like that in Ireland. Techno scene here, I'd love to do something different, but there's a lot of barriers. So yeah, it's frustrating, but I've enough to keep me busy and more at the moment. Yeah, I did work in music for a little bit. I decided to take 6 months off work and really concentrate on growing the Ni.Mu music brand, and did a lot of prep and pitches for different things. Yeah, but never got a few things off the ground, but not everything I wanted to.
That's interesting though, and yeah, very interesting perspective, and definitely agree with you because it's what you want to do and how you get there. But look, you never know. You're on a pretty good path. You've got a lot going on. I just don't know how you have the time for everything. But you obviously have your hands full, and yeah, like awesome. I look forward to connecting with you and seeing where the future takes you, and definitely looking forward to Sydney next year. That would be awesome to get you come out. So you'll come out for for a big holiday.
We are going to come out for a big holiday. Yeah, we're huge foodies, and we're huge fans of MasterChef Australia. So we've literally got a food tour doing Melbourne, then Sydney. I haven't been to Sydney before. I used to live in Sydney for nearly a year, but I've never been to Melbourne. So we're going to do Melbourne and Sydney, make a holiday out of it, do 2.5 weeks, and take in a couple of events while we're there. See some friends. Yeah.
Very good. But yeah, on that note, Nick, thank you so much for your time. Apologies again for the technical difficulties at the beginning.
No worries.
Is there anything else you want to touch on before we finish up?
No. I think we've had a pretty broad, pretty good conversation. I'll just maybe touch on a couple of the best moments I've had at these events. Just, there's a few moments we've had. I'm not afraid to say that there's been moments. We've seen Dennis Ferrer on the main stage. I was absolute tears when he played. Never seen him before. This is, I think, 2019 or so. So special to see artists you've looked at for decades being literally there, like right there, and particularly Croatia is a festival that there's really very little separation between artists and attendees, and a lot of them are just wandered around and for chats.
That is so true. That's so true.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And a lot of them are okay. So some of them are not up for chats, but some of them are literally sitting there having their lunch and their dinner at the table next to you and chatting away to people. And people are very respectful of that too. They're not jumping up to them and going, selfies, yeah. They're actually really respectful, and maybe just look at what he's eating for his dinner or she's eating for their dinner. But yeah, it's very normalized that everyone's equal in that place. There's been moments at the first Glitterbox in Printworks London was, I think, a real turning point for that brand, where they sort of came of age. It was a day party that I've never seen an atmosphere, inclusive, joyous atmosphere like that in my life. It was 5,000 people in the print hall of Printworks. It was, I can't even put into words the energy in the place. There was another moment we had was in Ibiza, where every year a different brand is invited to do a party at Dult Villa, which is the castle above the old town. At this sort of, there's a big open plaza, almost like a parade ground, if you will, probably even years ago. And Defected did it in 21 or 22, I think, where they had Daddy Tenaglia. Daddy Tenaglia was a huge musical influence for me from way back in his tourism album, sort of 98, I think that was. And we were up at the stage, and the sun was going down behind the stage, Ibiza and sunset. Behind the stage, we're at this Dult Villa parade ground, I'm going to call it, up above the whole town. The sun's going down. Danny Tenaglia comes on the stage, which I'd never seen before, and he's been on my bucket list for over 20 years. See him, and just the two of us were just standing there, and the tears were coming out. We're going, what's happening to us? Yeah, it was just, there's moments like this where you just know that moment becomes a memory for life. And only music can do that to you, and to be able to share.
And what you just touched on before, I love nothing more than scenic music sets. Love.
Yeah, and it's difficult to get them, but yeah, that was a special one. That was so special that it's one of these moments you're going to go, I'm never going to see this again in my lifetime. Just never going to see it. Mele, who's our artist producer for Liverpool, who's a friend, he did a boat party in Croatia a few years ago for his own club ad brand, and they'd gone through a few people, or other artists, to play with him, and they'd gone through a few names which I won't mention. Mele plays quite a percussive sound, sort of touching in sort of Afro house sort of sound, and they suggested Bob Sinclair, and they said, will they go along and ask him if he'd play an Africanism set from his old Africanism days from the albums back in the 90s. And they approached him, apparently, and he said, yes, no one asked me to do that. I'd love to do it. And so we ended up on a boat in Croatia, Mele playing his Afro House sound. Bob Sinclair comes out on a speedboat with dancers, as he does, circles the boat for so everyone can see him, gets on the speedboat, gets on the boat with his dancers, comes up like a peacock and ruffles his feathers, opens his leather notebook in full view of everyone, turning every page like he's on the stage, looking for the right page. And his playlist is written down in ink on this, and puts it down, ruffles his feathers again, and starts playing. And he plays an old Africanism set. And again, you're going, this is unique. This is never going to happen again. This is one of those moments that you're sharing with these other 150 people on the boat. It's never ever going to happen again, and you just know that that's special, and that's a moment. Yeah, some of those are just the moments for a lifetime.
And I also love when, like, obviously Fred again's got quite a reputation for it, but just popping up when DJs pop up in random places and play random sets, and that surprise and delight of people. Like Disclosure did a pop up in some small place somewhere recently as well, and like I love that. And if ever, I've got no aspirations to be a DJ personally. This is my contribution, and I love the whole scene. But like, if I was for some reason, or if I become friends with a DJ, I would always encourage them to do that, because those pop-up surprises are so special for people, you know.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, as an audience member, not knowing what's going to happen. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. It becomes, some of these things become too predictable. So having
100%, 100%.
Yeah. If I, the ones you go along and the events you go along to and they happen just as you expected them to, they're not the ones you're going to remember.
Yep. It's always the unplanned nights as well. I've been trying to explore the Sydney scene a bit more. I do have a tendency to go to venues that I like and I'm familiar with, because stuff is expensive. So when you don't know and you do go and you don't have a fulfilling night, it can leave you feeling a bit sour. So it's very easy, like, we're creatures of habit. But I have been making a bit more of an effort recently to go to some different places and just go with the flow. Sydney's got a really good community for like underground and up and coming artists, and find people before they're massive, and find those boiler room style sets that you'll never get with the bigger artists, because there's too much money in it, I suppose. But some of them, hats off to them, they still come and throw the odd special party.
I look forward to finding some of those.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll definitely keep in touch. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and hearing a bit about your story.
Sure, and thank you. Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's nice to talk about something that I'm passionate about and sharing it with other people. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, enjoy the rest of your day in sunny Ireland.
It's far from sunny.
Oh, have a great day. Yeah, thank you so much.